I have one of these calendars from Craftprokits that I bought from Axminster tools, and I also have a segmented ring that I made several months ago, which is slightly larger than the calendar. So let's see what I can make out of this. I have a waste block here that I've already faced off, and being a segmented ring, it has a hole in the centre which is reasonably central, so just using the live centre is going to hopefully hold this in centre. And I'm just going to hot glue this on so that I can then work on the back, true it up a bit and stick a mortise in. Then I can rotate it around on my smaller jaws. The glue is now set on this, and my first job will be to true up this, and I'm just going to use my Ashley Isles bowl gouge. See here, it is going to be a fairly tight fit, so I'll just face off the bottom here and put in a mortise so that I can turn this around. Now I just need to make this slightly concave. And then for my jaws, it's around about 35mm. And what I'm going to do is I'm just, even though you're not going to see this, I'm just going to true up this inside hole, because then if somebody does turn it over, it's going to look a little bit nicer. And I might even create a bung to go in there, just to cover it up. So just to make this look a bit nicer, I'm going to turn a plug just to fit in there. So I've just flattened off another waste block, and I've found this small piece of Iroko, which is the same as what we've got here, and I'm just gonna glue this, hot glue this to here, so that I can just turn down a plug to go in here. And that shouldn't need too much. That glue's gone off now, and I'm going to turn this down so it's initially slightly wider than the hole here, and then I'll taper it in slightly so that it will go in there as a bung and fit nice and tightly. And once that's glued in place, I can then reface off this to get a nice smooth surface. So I'm just going to use some ordinary wood PVA glue just to put a little around the edge here and inside there. Run some around the inside. Put a little on here. Just gently tap that in. And I'll leave that about 15 minutes now. And then just turn that off. That's been left about 10 minutes now, so I will just tidy up this bottom piece and then sand it all up. So I'm just going to sand all the base here to 240 and then probably give it a coat of Yorkshire grit after some sanding sealer. So I've sanded that to 240. Just blow out the dust. Should give it a coat of sanding sealer. So before I give that a coat of Yorkshire grit, I'm just going to sign the bottom like I usually do with most of my work. And it's really a case of finding something you can lean on. And I'll just now give this a coat of Yorkshire grit. I have sanded and given the edges some sanding sealer, and I'm going to Yorkshire grit those as well. And the reason I've done that is that I don't know yet until I turn this around whether I'm going to do anything else with the sides. Right, for a finish wise, first of all, give this a coat of beeswax. I very rarely use this. And then a coat of Canuba wax. And I've had these literally since I started turning, nearly 3 years ago. So it's nice to use something different for a change. And with these, you just need to get the lathe spinning fairly fast to get them on there so that it melts the wax off the stick onto the work, and then buff them up afterwards. That's with the beeswax on, and I believe Yorkshire grit does contain some beeswax in it, so it's just really enhanced the finish from Yorkshire grit. Now the Canuba wax, which is also another natural wax, is a lot harder wearing, and by rights should give a better sheen to the finished piece. So that's now had beeswax and Canuba wax. Next job is to part this off from the waste block, change over to my smaller jaws, and then turn it around. Now I've found when you glue a piece on like this with hot glue onto a waste block where you've just glued the outside and not underneath the face, the best way often not is to just take some of this hot glue down with something like the parting tool, so it heats the glue up and then it should pull straight off. And it should then still be hopefully warm enough and supple enough that you can then peel the rest of the glue off your work. So that should have heated the glue up and it should pull right off. and it's a good idea to try and get all these pieces off here, because when you turn this down with something like your spindle or bowl gouge, the glue will just stick all onto your tool, and it's a lot more work to clear off than what it would be to just take most of the glue off here. I now have this mounted on my smaller jaws in expansion mode, so I've not overly tightened it because I don't want all this to split apart. And the good thing is that I'm not doing too much heavy work, so you can go fairly lightly and there's not going to be no effect on this whatsoever, even though it's only being held on by a small amount on the mortise. Now we can see here that I have very little room to play with. So I think the first job I'm going to do is I'm going to face this off. I haven't got to worry about this inner hole because this will cover it up. And I think after that, what I may well do is create a recess on the inside so that this has got a little bit of a lip. And I'm going to measure this inside rather than going to the full width, because I'd rather extend the wood than cut it too big to start with, and then mark that on here. See if that's big enough, which is fine, so I just want to go a slight bit bigger. And that will fit in there nicely, and I'll just round over this top edge. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to sand this all back now. When I give my wax finish, I'm only going to do the inside edge here. I don't want to put wax on all the middle, because this is actually a self-adhesive pad on the base here, which you just peel off to stick on. And if we've got wax over the whole thing, there's no way that's going to stay stuck down. So I'll sand this all down now, and then do the same process as I did for the back and the sides. So it'll be sanding down to 240, sanding sealer, Yorkshire grit, and then give it a couple of coats of the wax, and then I'll come back. So off camera, I've just sanded this all to 240, sanding sealer and Yorkshire grit. I then just resanded this central part with the 240 grit and gave it a coat of sanding sealer, because then this is going to have something a little bit better to stick to rather than some form of a wax surface, because Yorkshire grit does contain a little bit of beeswax. Not that it's going to be noticeable too much, but at least this way it should secure a better hold onto the wood. And what I'm going to do now, just to finish this off, is just do a little bit of beeswax on this outer edge lip, and just give the outside another coat of the beeswax and canuba wax. And I don't know whether it shows on the camera there, but basically the wax has come in probably to about as far as there, so it shouldn't be a problem. It will have a good hold on this piece. No damage on the bottom whatsoever with the jaws. So the final part is just to stick this on. Always best just to see what it looks like before you stick it on, so you can see how much of a gap around the edge you've got to have when it's sat in place properly. sure I line this up properly. And there is also a protective cover on these as well, which I'm going to leave on for now. Now, if you've never seen one of these calendars before, they're quite clever actually. This one, as you see, is a 40-year calendar which runs from 2018 to 2057, and you've got all your years around the edge here. So you just put the appropriate month on the appropriate year. So we've got December there, 2018, and then we have our calendar down the bottom here. So today is Friday the 14th of December, and it's rather a nice idea, something that displays nice, something ideal for a gift. Nice, easy project, very cheap. Now, Axminster do 2 of these Craftprokits calendars. This, the 40-year one, is at roughly about 63 millimeters wide, which is 2.5 inches. They also do a 100-year one. Now that one is nearly 90 millimeters, which is about 3.5 inches in diameter. Price wise, 40-year one, £3.20, and that one was £4.99. So especially these little ones, absolutely ideal for a great little gift, nice and cheap. It was nice to do beeswax and carnauba wax for a change. I rarely use it, haven't used it for ages, so it's nice to do something totally different like that for a change. Something very, very cheap. I hummed and hawed whether to do any shaping on the side here, but I thought in the end, because this is such a tight fit, you've also got all your segmented rings for the decoration. I thought that it looked a lot better like that, and I am really happy with the final result. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you on the next project video.